Now, I like to provide the questions as such. The questions will carry the options, but we will ignore the options. We will never look at the options because that is the ability that you need to bring in while you solve sentence completion questions. The reason are probably now almost all competitive examinations are switching to online mode. Had it been paper-based mode, you can deliberately hide the options. But if you are moving on to the online mode, then hiding the option, that is placing your hand on the monitor, would be very much impractical and difficult. So we would try to train our mind in such a way that we look at the questions and not the options. Let's try to do that for this question. The dash of loyalties is first to oneself, next to kin, then to fellow tribe members, and finally compatriots. We have read the sentence, and this question may pose a challenge. If you do not know the meaning for the word kin and compatriot, probably getting the contextual meaning for this sentence will be difficult. In that case, when you find it difficult to get the contextual meaning of the sentence, try to shift your focus on the given sentence structure. Observe closely. This is a sentence. You are on one sentence, and within a sentence, we're using the words first, next, then, and finally. When will we use these words in a sentence? That itself gives you the very structure of the sentence, gives you the clue that the word for the blank should mean a sequence. It talks about an arrangement: first, next, then, and finally. So if you could able to predict a word for the blank, apply the prediction on the answer choices, and you would find answer is option B. And please note, for this question, the most popular wrong choice is option C. This is most popular wrong choice. And picking the most popular wrong choice happens when you fail to follow the steps, or it would definitely appear, or it would definitely occur when you immediately look at the words in the options. So please note, you will never look at the options until you predict a word for the blank. That is the indication. The moment you predict a word for the blank, only then you shift your attention from the given question to the answer choices. If it happens early, or if you don't, then the chances are more for you to pick the most popular wrong choices, because the examiner or the person who sets the question is really smart and he will easily make you to fall into the traps. Be cautious. The instructor added the restriction that all projects had to be dash. No student could research an area that had been investigated previously by anyone else. If you ask yourself, the entire sentence talks about the restriction made by the instructor. What is the restriction? The restriction is explained here, that no student could research an area that had been investigated previously by anyone else. If you want to know for structural clues, these are structural clues. There is a colon mark provided which states that the particular segment that which follows the colon mark is an extension. So try to find these structural clues. For this question, you can understand the restriction given by the instructor is that no one should copy anyone else. Everyone has to make their project by themselves. So what could be the word for the blank? If no student could research an area that had been investigated previously, then each student had to do the project by himself or herself. In other words, the project must be unique. It should be done by a person. Apply it on the options. Can easily eliminate acceptable, extensive, useful. The right choice is D. Yes, it has to be original. It cannot be the one that had been investigated previously. Normally, an individual thunderstorm lasts about 45 minutes, but under certain conditions, the storm may. I like to provide you some structural clues for the sentence completion questions. You can make a note. when you come across any of these words in a sentence, but, yet, however, though, or even though, or although, despite, in spite of, nonetheless, or nevertheless, when you come across any of these words in a sentence, please note the idea followed by these words will oppose or contradict the main idea. These are called opposing triggers. So please note these idea. When you find any of these words in a sentence, the idea followed by these words will oppose the main idea. This is one list. You have one more list, note down. When you come across any of these words in a sentence like so, thus, and, hence, in addition to, besides. Of course, the word besides means in addition to, consequently. The idea followed by these words will support the main idea. The previous list, opposing triggers. The second list, supporting triggers. Have a special eye for structural clues while you deal with sentence completion questions. And if you could pick structural clue for the questions, predicting a word for the answer choice becomes an easier task. Not only it becomes an easier task, it also makes the prediction faster. Let's move on to the questions now. We shall read the question once again so that let's see whether is there any structural clue provided in the sentence. Normally an individual thunderstorm lasts about 45 minutes, but under certain conditions the storm may dash, becoming ever more severe for as long as 4 hours. So one is normally, and we have the word but. We know that when you have the word but, the idea followed by this word will oppose the main idea. The sentence overall meaning discusses the duration of an individual thunderstorm, which says normal duration is 45 minutes. But under certain conditions, the storm may, that's a word that we need to predict, becoming ever more severe for as long as, which means, but under certain conditions, the storm may extend or storm may last for much longer duration. That's what the meaning of the question is. We have predicted the word, apply the word on the options. The right choice is option C, persist, because the word moderate and disperse you could easily eliminate it. The word wane means disappear. Answer is option C. Usually the first to spot data that were inconsistent with other findings. In this particular experiment, she let a number of dash results slip by. I admit that this is a challenging question. You need to try to look for structural clues before proceeding to get the overall meaning of the sentence. The sentence begins with usually and it brings in a phrase in this particular experiment. Why do these two words being given? If you think of it, you can easily predict the word for the blank. For you to understand this logic better, let me give you an example. Usually Virat Kohli scores more runs in a cricket match. In this particular match, if I bring in the phrase in this particular match, even before I complete my sentence, you can easily understand in that particular match, Virat Kohli has failed to score more runs. That is the indication. Apply the same logic here, and that's what these two structural words do here. Usually the first, this is in this superlative form. So this person is usually the first to spot data that were inconsistent with other findings. When we say usually this, she is the first. In this experiment, she let a number of dash. So which means she has failed to do something in this experiment, and that is really miserable one. Why do I say it's really the most glaring mistake that she has done? Because this is in superlative, the first, which means she let a number of even most glaring results slip by. That is what this phrase does in the sentence. Usually Virat Kohli scores more runs for his team. In this match, he has failed to do so. Similarly, usually the first to spot data in this experiment, she let a number of most visible or glaring results slip by. Apply the word on the options. It can't be inaccurate. The word salient is a tempting option. Actually, it is wrong. Inconsistent is also wrong. The right choice is option B. Though she is good at identifying any inconsistency with investigations, in this experiment she has missed to verify even the most glaring ones. That's the meaning of the sentence. People from all over the world are sent by the doctors to breathe the pure dash air in this mountain region. I would say of all the questions that we have done, predicting a word for this question could be the simplest one. Pure dash air. Pure, can we say healthy? Yes. Within no time we have predicted the word for the blank. Let's apply it on the options. There comes the trouble. Option A says invigorating. Option B says strenuous. Option C says debilitating. And option D says unhealthy. Our prediction is healthy. Therefore, for this question, even though we have predicted a word for the blank, we couldn't eliminate more than one option. This is the limitation of the technique which I have been talking about. The technique which I have been advising you to follow is to read the sentence, understand the overall meaning, and based on the contextual sense, you are asked to predict a word for the blank. And yes, for 60 to 70% of questions in sentence completion question type, prediction or predicting a word for the blank will help you to choose the answer choice. But that cannot happen for all the questions. I don't want to give you any falsity that you predict or you adopt this technique, predict a word for the blank, and you are rest assured that you'll be given. You can easily pick the right choice. No. What I say is, predicting a word will help you to answer 60 to 70% questions. If you aim to be the topper of any competitive examination, then this approach should be supplemented with building your vocabulary skills. Because basically, sentence completion question is an assessment to test your vocabulary. So, when the entire question type is to test your command or vocabulary, I have given you a supplementary approach wherein through that you could manage a few questions. You cannot answer all the questions. If you need to answer all the questions, if you want to become a topper, then yes, with a practice on the contextual approach, with a practice on predicting a word for the blanks, you need to improve your vocabulary skills as well. And I want to convey the message to this question. Well, the answer for this question is option A, invigorating. Strenuous means stressful, can be eliminated. Debilitating means weakening. The right choice is option A for this question.